We added a carnivore last time to our park, but now let's add one of my favorite herbivores to our park here in Jurassic World Evolution 3. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back in Jurassic World Evolution 3, building out a little bit more of this park we started last time. Last time we were here, we built out that Parasaurolophus Enclosure, and then I asked for some feedback if there was other dinosaurs that would be fun to include here. Feedback I got was to do something with Parasaurolophus, and I love Parasaurolophus, so of course we're going to add that to the park here now. My goal here is I wanted to create something where we could walk through the enclosure a little bit, but obviously I need something for people to walk towards, and I didn't want to use a bathroom or something else like that, so we're going to use the Dinosaur Encounter here for juveniles for people to start walking towards. I don't want it to look like every other dinosaur encounter here though, so I'm going to create something that looks a little bit more like a petting zoo or a log cabin or some kind of a hybrid between the two of those here, and using a lot of the Wetlands DLC's wood builds to make this feel a little bit more rustic in the background here. I want this to be something where people can see it from the distance where they see it, but it doesn't look like it's the same dinosaur encounter that we could see in any other park here in Jurassic World Evolution 3. I think creating parks like this where we can be a little more creative is a lot of fun, but it does take a lot of work to think through these things, or maybe I'm just not the most creative person in the world. So doing things like this is a lot of fun. It does take a lot of time for me to figure out what I want to do with it, and I am a little bit of a slower builder doing some of those things. So appreciate the patience, as I feel like the last encounter or enclosure we built here was about a week or so ago. Also still going through the challenge mode and a couple other things there. So if you do enjoy these videos with Jurassic World Evolution 3 mostly, feel free to hit that like and that subscribe button as I'll continue to build out more and more of these enclosures. Maybe we turn this into some kind of a park, or if I get more and more ideas from people, that we build this out even further. We'll see where this goes. I don't have a full plan on what this is going to look like, and maybe that's a good idea, maybe that's a bad idea. I don't actually know, but we'll see as we continue to move on here. I did want to put the top of this with a roof over the top of it, so everything here is enclosed to give it a little more of that log cabin-esque vibe. Not using wood or anything on the top here, but then I do want to have some natural light in the ceiling, so we're going to use some of the glass roofs here on the top, and then some of the other copper roof around the side of it to enclose that a little bit more. I had a little bit of fun with this. I don't use a ton of this trim here, but trying to get more and more comfortable with all the building mechanics and everything here in Evolution 3 has been a ton of fun. So we're going to continue to play around with that as we go and get a little bit better with this every single time. I do always want to make sure I put some kind of a trim on the bottom of these buildings here to just give it another dimension here. I feel like that really helps these to feel a little more realistic. So we're going to use this just on the sides of this and then just consistently run it around the sides of this. Fortunately, since this is mostly a square on the outside, it's a lot easier to do this and then just twist it every 40 or 90 degrees and then continue on around the sides of this entire enclosure here. So this makes these buildings a little bit easier to work with, as well as some other ones might be circles, which are still not the most, like, not impossible, but they're definitely a little bit more challenging to do here. But going around the sides of this here, I just want to make this as detailed as possible without trying to complete or totally destroy the complexity meter, because I do all this on the console on PlayStation 5 rather than using this on PC, where I know this is more optimized for. I'm going to use the fences here as just a railing on the sides of this on each side. And then I'm going to take something on the top of it as well, because Parasaurolophus is a little bit of a larger dinosaur, especially for something like this. And if I'm going to be around the adults as well, I don't want to feel like the Parasaurolophus can get toward the people. I still want this to feel safe for our guests that are coming through here. So definitely going to want to make sure that we're keeping that in mind, but still giving it a space where we can maybe get a little bit closer to the adults, whereas the juveniles will go in the middle into what might be that more traditional, like, petting zoo-esque space here. My thought here is just to use the fences that we can have in our parks here, and then just flip them on their sides, flip them upside down, and then run that over the top of this here. So I'm not fully enclosed. You can still get in there if you wanted to. You can stick your hand out there and maybe pet a Parasaurolophus if that felt like a smart thing for you to do. But either way, I still feel like you're close here, but then the Parasaurolophus can't actually get out. Now they can't actually get out in here at all, and we're going to do some more things to make sure that Parasaurolophus stays within this enclosure and doesn't move through any hitboxes like it might do, and some points for people. But definitely want to make sure that we're trying to put as many details in here as possible. So we'll put some more poles in here. And then on the top of this over here, we built out a little like viewing space from the top here. And this is where we're going to have all of our storage here. So all of our building materials will be stuck up here in the dinosaur encounter here. I just started filling it in with a bunch of different props. I didn't have a full plan, and that's usually my strategy here, is to have an idea and then just start adding things as I feel like they make sense. So once we build out the main frame of this, there isn't any rhyme or reason for why we start. We just start going down the list and figuring out if something makes sense, or if it feels like it should be here, then we add it, and if it doesn't, then we just move on from it. We're going to add our security cameras here, and I feel like the security cameras in this game are always a little bit too large for me, so I always want to reduce the size of those. And I traditionally change the color of them. I'm getting more comfortable with just changing colors to a lot of these things. So we'll even change like the seating that we'll have on the sides of this and make it a little bit darker to make it feel like it matches a little more of this dark wood rustic vibe that we have on the inside of this encounter here. Couple pieces of artwork. And then on the outside here, we'll just use some of these shades on the side. I was thinking about using some glass on the sides here, but I don't actually have the right angle for it. And so instead we're going to improvise, and we're going to use some of these shades here on the outside here, where in theory we could close them, but we're going to leave them open because there's no way to actually close them. Got a couple more props, then we'll have some seating in here as well. And we're going to do the seating on just one side of the inside of this here. So the other side will be more for like staff needs, or we'll have like our gas tanks and everything, and then the other half will be more for guests to be actually spending their time. Couple of different flower beds or flower boxes over here for us as well. I feel like those are essential need to have in a lot of these buildings here to just build out the inside of it and not make it feel too industrial. And then changing a few of the glass pieces on the top so it feels like they could open up to maybe air it out just a little more, even if it is already kind of aired out. Once we've done that, we can fill out the top of our deck here and just put the floor from the Wetlands DLC pack there. And then we'll just use a bunch of these roof pieces here as well to just go over the top of it. So it doesn't look like a floor, but from the top of it, you can see that it's secure and it's wood. That's the basic filter, or basic what it's going to look like for this cabin here. And then on the sides here, we don't have functioning bridges in Evolution 3, but I did want to have something where it felt like we could go from where we already are with the baryonyx, and we could walk across the river to maybe where the rest of this park is going to be here. I'm going to use some more of these flower boxes. And then we're going to do this on both sides of this here to make this so we can put a few plants in here. Nothing too crazy here, but maybe we'll put a couple of these different bushes down. And then what we'll do is we can just bring the whole thing down, and then we can just extend it over where we're at here, across the river, to where we might put some more dinosaurs, some other things in the future here. And again, I don't have a full plan for that. So if there are dinosaurs or things that you feel like would be fun to add to this right now, I don't have a full plan yet. So feel free to put that in the comments. I would love to add a couple more things here. But I also would love it if there's ideas on other things to do here as well. So totally open to some of that feedback here. But we'll build up the basic framework for where we would want to take things afterwards. And then we'll also put something to wall off the back side of this enclosure here for Parasaurolophus here. Because we don't want them just wandering everywhere. We're going to have a little bit of structure to the side of this here. Not everything needs to be barred in with rock, so we're going to use a few of these building pieces here, these larger walls, to just circle this on the side of here. Maybe we turn this into a patio or a guest space here in the future. Don't have a full plan for this yet. Maybe it becomes just a space to look out and to view the Parasaurolophus from up there. We'll see where it goes, but this is at least the start of something maybe for the future. Again, I wanted to make something where we could walk through the enclosure a little bit, so we'll just create a path here. We're not going to use this faculty path here, but this is just good for us to actually see what that looks like. And then we'll use the invisible fences on the side that we could just go around the perimeter of this fence, or this perimeter of the path here, before we'll eventually change the design of that so it's a little bit harder to see the actual path itself. We will still probably be able to see some of this invisible fence. There's not a lot we can do to fully hide that unless I like perfectly went over all of it with like a rock. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use it. You can see parts of it as we'll continue to go through here. But at least it gets us a little bit closer to feeling like we can walk through this enclosure, see the Parasaurolophus, and not actually have the Parasaurolophus escape from the enclosure here. We're going to use some deep water as well over here. That's going to help bar in the Parasaurolophus. Parasaurolophus can't swim through deep water. And so we're going to use some of that here on the side, and then we'll take out some of these gates that we'd built, or these fences here that I'd use to make a smaller guest area with some of the essential needs we have for the park. But then, see, we can take this now and we can use just that sand path to make it feel a little bit more invisible. I also wasn't sure what I exactly needed for Parasaurolophus in this enclosure, so I did have them get flown into this space so I could get a better idea of what we actually needed here for them to be happy. All in all, that was good. The only problem is I really hate these trees. So needed to add these and then try to slowly remove little bits and pieces of that so I didn't have these large annoying trees that just didn't fit the rest of the vibe here. I wanted to create some kind of a barrier between the Parasaurolophus and the people, though. Even though we have the invisible fence here, I want this to feel more like a real park here. So there's going to be some barrier here so that people can't actually get into the Parasaurolophus enclosure here. We'll just make something really simple here with the fences here and some of the low walls, and then having something on the sides here. We'll just probably use like plaster or something else here to or the panel here to connect it on this side here. So as we turn it, it's not going to feel like we have any crazy breaks in the actual wall here. We can just smoothly move this around the sides of the invisible path here. And we'll just make sure we do this on the inside here so that the guests can't see the invisible path. That will just go on the outside of it here, and then we'll take this around the perimeter of the fence here. I don't usually use a lot of the invisible fence. This is one of the few times I have here, so I don't know if there's better ways to incorporate them here. I don't love that I feel like I can always see these like larger cement pieces that come out of it. It would be really cool if there was a way to fully hide it here, but I feel like I can only really hide the invisible fence here by putting walls over the top of them, or rocks, or bushes and things like that over it. And then you still do have that electricity light that flows through them at nighttime. Fortunately, this is in sandbox now, so we don't actually have to see it at night if we didn't want to. But that would be nice if there's a way to fully hide those here, or put it like under the ground, so that I can actually see it. I understand why we don't, so that when we're editing things, we can see what we're doing on both sides of this here. But that's just one of my asks. I think that would make it a little bit more tempting or reasonable for me to use this fence here. But because other than that, I really don't like having this line that just goes around an enclosure here. So you see, as we start doing this on both sides of this here, that's going to make it so that we have this, and then it feels like guests can just walk through this, and maybe the parts where the sand path actually is maybe are the parts that are more well tread on by people. But it more gives that natural vibe of being able to walk through the dinosaurs enclosure here. We just have these barriers on the sides of this for people, but then they can't see the invisible fence on both sides of this for us as we're going through it here. This curve here was a little bit tricky for me as I was putting it together, and so took it about as far as I could here, and then we just switched it up. We're going to use some of the rock here on the side, which I thought actually worked well. I didn't feel like we necessarily needed to have just the same fence the entire time around it. Yeah, it's nice to have that barrier there for consistency, but having a spot over here maybe where we have some rocks, and then maybe we throw some statues or some other shrubs in, I felt like just kind of adds to the rest of the park here. And then we didn't actually build it on the fully here by the water, so just to cover our bases here, we'll add that here. So just in case a Parasaurolophus slides by the fence here and the water, that should eliminate any dinosaurs getting loose in this enclosure here. So yeah, we'll add just a couple more plants in here. Again, it doesn't fully cover up the invisible fence. You can still see it on the side there. You can see the line of it there. Not ideal, but it's still at least a start here to try to make it a little bit more covered up for us. We'll use a ton of different shrubs and foliage here on the sides of our cabin to be able to give it a little bit of some spots that maybe are overgrown with some of these here. I'm not going to go too crazy. I mean, to some people this is a little crazy, but not going to go too crazy for me on the shrubs and the foliage over here. But definitely going to have some fun putting a ton of this in here. Just a few of these like elephant grass and some larger overgrown grass throughout the sides of this here. I'm not opposed to doing it on both sides of this. I don't feel like we need to have like a hard break between them. But then this is that entire enclosure here. So we have our Parasaurolophs that we can walk through as we go past our baryonyx. There's a bridge that'll go out to the rest of the park. And then we have this path here that we can go that'll walk us down towards that Parasaurolophus here. You know, all in all, coming in here with just a small idea and then building this out, I'm okay with how this turned out. I'm really happy with having this where we feel like we can walk through this. We can see the Parasaurolophus on the inside of this here. But I'm sure there's ways that we could elevate that or make this a little bit better here. So if you have ideas on how to make this even better or more immersive, feel free to put those in the comments. Also, I'm thinking we'll continue to build out this park a little bit more and maybe turn this into, well, we'll see what it turns into, but maybe something more like a community park. I've seen out there. Don't have a large community here. I think there's like 200 people subscribing to this channel here. So if you do like this and would like to continue on that, feel free to hit that like and that subscribe button, or put an idea for other dinosaurs to add to this park, and we will continue to do that until we fill out the rest of this park. I'm going to log off here now, so enjoy the rest of this video with the Parasaurolophus walking around the enclosure. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on the next build.